Welcome inside the IKS Media Studios. I'm Clark Munroe, your host for SJHL Weekly today, brought to you by UPL, our good friends over there. Today we're going to recap a wild weekend of the CJHL Trade Deadline, plus a ton of games across the league. You can tell by looking at the standings that a lot changed over the weekend. A lot has been going on, so we're going to recap that as best as we can. We're going to see what your favorite teams did in terms of players in, players out, the trades across the league, so we'll check all that out. Plus, we're going to announce players of the week as we normally do, and this is weird to say. We're going to be joined by Flon Bombers forward Connor Miller. Okay, well, that's going to take a while to get used to, but that was one of the big swings over the past few days. So we'll talk about that with him and a whole lot more. We're going to check out those standings. We're going to check out some players' stats as we enter the second half of the season. It's going to be a great time. But first, let's thank our sponsors. We'll start with Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Canalta Hotels, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, Chevrolet, Great Western Brewing Company, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Vaterstad. And before we get started, if you're watching on any of our social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, please make sure to hit the like button, hit the share button, and comment in. We will put your comments on the bottom of the screen throughout the show. So make sure you do that so we can talk with you, and maybe your comment will become a topic of conversation with me and this guy, Jamie Neugebauer. Jamie, it's been a busy, I'm going to say, couple of weeks, dating back to the Viking Cup for you in terms of coverage of all the things that are going on.
Viking horns?
Yeah, exactly. I hope that's Viking horns. But obviously, it's kind of come to a bit of a slowdown now that we can reflect on everything that's happened. But the trade deadline is the big thing that we're going to talk about today. Yeah. Lots going on. It was a busy weekend.
It was a busy weekend. One of the questions that was asked was, is this, a way crazier trade deadline than you thought? I actually thought it was a normal trade deadline. Every year it's going to be quiet. There's a lot of parity. Nobody's going to trade with each other, blah, blah, blah. And then again, it gets nuts again and people find a way to make deals. So yeah. I think it's been a normal trade deadline. Like there were 32 moves from January 1st to the 10th when the trade thaw happened. Some teams I'm sure were happy. Some teams did what they could. It's a really mixed bag out there.
Yeah, comparatively to other years, I don't know how this number compares.
Yeah.
I don't know. We could probably
I'd say it's pretty similar.
It was pretty similar, but it did seem like this year compared to other years. For me anyways, we had like 9 teams that really believe that they can make a good push in the playoffs or for the playoffs. We had one team with a notable change of direction, but otherwise, the 2 teams that were considered sellers going in, they sold a little bit. They want to keep most of the players that they have, so there wasn't a ton to move out. And then the teams, like I said, there was 9 teams in our league that decidedly wanted to improve. So I think for us, it was like going in, are we going to see them be able to figure out how to improve, or is it going to be a stalemate? And what it was, so we kind of assumed maybe we shouldn't have, obviously, you know what they say when you assume, but I think we assumed that maybe there was, exactly, thank you, there wasn't going to be enough out there to do, so maybe we wouldn't see much. So I think some of us maybe thought it might be a little bit quieter. So maybe it was crazier because we expected less, we got more. Maybe that's what it was. But Nugsy, we're going to break it all down. Let's have a look before we do. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save the recaps. We're just going to dive into the headlines.
Let's go right to trade. Yeah.
We're going to dive into the headlines. So why don't we do that now? The number one topic is deadline madness. So we'll start with all of that. Obviously, you can see we also have Starstruck, a Mauling, Hawk Attack, and in or out. So we'll get to what those mean in a little bit, but we have to start with the trade deadline madness to just kind of clear up, because I know there's probably some fans watching today from around our communities across Saskatchewan or even across the prairies. They're like, what just happened? So let's recap it. Now, we're not going to show you what happened before January 8th, because we already did a show on that on SJHL Insider last Thursday. So you can go check that out if you want to check out what happened before January 8th. But let's look at what happened from January 8th until Saturday afternoon. There was a lot. So let's have a look at January 8th now. In terms of the trades, we'll just breeze through all of the actual trades that happened, and then we're going to look team by team in terms of who was in and who was out. Obviously, the big one, Nugsy, that kind of shook everybody to their core, I'll say, because a lot of Humboldt's core moved to a different team. The Humboldt Broncos traded goaltender Charlie Tritt and then a whole bunch of other stuff to the Flin Bombers. well, I guess it was the Bombers traded a bunch of stuff to Humboldt as well. As you can see, a smattering of draft picks, a player to be named later, and a PDF. That's the bulk of it.
Yeah.
And then in technically a separate trade, even though it happened all at the same time, a separate trade, Humboldt traded their captain, defenseman Ryder Knutson, and a third-round pick to Flin. In exchange, they got a first-round pick in the upcoming draft, a PDF, and again, another player to be named later, which both of those players to be named will be named apparently right on October 1st,
next season.
going into next season.
We've seen that before.
Yeah, we've seen that before.
Where teams sort of know their roster and know what guys are kind of like,
Yeah.
and then make a move from there.
Right.
But, you know, and obviously Connor Miller, but also
Miller.
the thing that we should mention too is this is also in conjunction with Humboldt sending Oakley McIlwain home, by the way, to
Right.
Lloydminster for Morgan Hackman, the Minnesota State Mankato
Yeah.
D1 commit, big time forward, and future considerations is my understanding.
Right.
That was before this too, so.
That was on
there you
that was on SJHL
Big
Insider on Thursday. We
Yeah.
got that one in.
Yep.
So that was all within a 24-hour period that those two trades, and then another one we'll talk about in a second, all happened within about a 24-hour period. Let's bring up the next slide. That was obviously all just basically one trade. It seems like a lot more, but it was basically one big trade. Then also on January 8th, Melfort trades Reese Nyland, the forward, to Swan Valley for defenseman Darren Hunt. Darren Hunt was an assistant captain with Swan Valley, putting up some really solid numbers. He's a 19-year-old, so he has eligibility next year as well. So I personally think a nice pickup. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about Melfort. Then Warman, it was also kind of the same trade. It was a three-team trade, sort of. But Warman trades Wiley Smith to Swan Valley, the defenseman Wiley Smith, for a player development fee. We'll move on to the next slide here. January 9th. We move into January 9th now. Flon, because of getting Charlie Tritt, they moved Devin Peck, their 20-year-old goaltender, to Dauphin for a player development fee. Then Melfort got in the action again. They trade defenseman Austin Ashovi to Verdun in the Manitoba League for Noel Anglot.
Saskboy.
That name might
Saskboy.
sound familiar. His older brother Drew was a good player for several years, not that long ago. And then Melfort continued to get in the action. They sent Trey Marcus, a 2007 forward, to Warman for a player development fee. Hometown boy, back home. That's a cool story there. Estevan wasn't, they didn't want to get outshined, so they also made a deal with Swan Valley. They acquired 19-year-old forward Bennett, is it Muller or Mueller? Have we figured this out yet? I'm going to say Muller. Bennett Muller from Swan Valley, again, a 19-year-old forward winger for a player development fee. We can go to the next slide here. Flon wasn't done yet because they brought so many guys in, they had to move a couple guys out. That's the numbers game we play with in this league. So they traded Beck Bethard and Jacob Bauman to Portage in the Manitoba League for player development fees. And then this one, I don't know if a ton of people saw this one coming necessarily, but it was all part of this Humboldt shift in direction. They trade their leading scorer, Jacob Streetsy, to Milton in the OJHL, that's Ontario, for a player development fee, back closer to his hometown.
I've got some context for that. Do you want me to say it now, or do you want me to wait for the
Let's wait
Humboldt?
until the Humboldt slide, because we'll dive into the teams a little bit more and what that means for each guy and all that stuff. But that's obviously one that a lot of people probably were a little surprised about, but again, because of the shift in direction for Humboldt, it became a trade that opened the door for a big move there. Then Warman traded 05 defenseman Dylan Hebert to Weiwei Sakapo in the MJHL for a player development fee. We're not quite done yet. Let's move to the next slide. This is now the January 10th deadline day. Nipawin trades Jackson Smith, a young forward there, 07 forward, to Larange. Larange had an open spot. Jackson Smith it became a numbers game in Nipawin. They needed to open up a spot. Then Melville acquired 19-year-old defenseman Maddox Schindel. Big boy.
Yeah, he fits.
He fits what Melville is going for from
6'4",
Verdun.
200, something like that.
Yeah, and so that should be a good fit for Melville, you would think. Then Yorkton trades William Sumner to Warman, defenseman there. Again, Warman moving bodies in and out, kind of getting younger. So a nice young player there, William Sumner, for a player development fee. We can move to the next slide. Kindersley then trades Mason Egan, I don't know why I stumbled on that. For the two Nipawin, as I mentioned earlier, Nipawin brought a body in. They had to move a body out. That was the Jackson Smith portion. But they moved Mason Egan to Nipawin for the SJHL list rights to Cooper Perrin, a 2009-born defenseman, I believe, and a third-round selection in the upcoming draft. Kindersley wasn't done there. They trade the rights to Hudson Sayers and the CJHL rights to Avery Johnson, Nugsy. 2006, obviously, a 19-year-old player, was leading Kindersley in scoring, not with the team anymore, but they trade his rights to Weyburn now for 2005 defenseman Bryson Carlisle. So a big swap there with some big implications, probably not for this year for Weyburn, but possibly into next year for Weyburn. If they can get Avery Johnson back into the league, that could be big for them. Then a defenseman swap. Kindersley trades 2007, so 18-year-old defenseman Jordan Lafleur, and a PDF, a player development fee, to Larange for 2006, 19-year-old defenseman Owen Turner. So a defenseman swap there, but Kindersley kind of shuffling the deck there. We'll talk about that when we get to Kindersley. Weyburn, this could be big. This could be really big. Weyburn acquires Ryland Pierce from technically the Fort McMurray Oil Barons in the Alberta League for future considerations. For those who might remember that name, he was with the Flin Flon Bombers a few years ago as a young player. Then he went to the WHL for a few years.
200 games, man.
200 games in the WHL, and a very solid player.
Regular season plus playoff.
Right. So a lot of experience there, and Weyburn, Nugsy, we talked about it, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, picks up that possibly big defensive piece that we thought maybe we weren't sure if they were going to be able to find.
Yeah.
So there we go. We got a comment here. Avery Johnson was fun to watch. Nice hands, very talented player, absolutely. Yeah. And if he ends up coming back here next year with Weyburn,
yeah.
I said it in a group chat that you and I are in, Nugsy, maybe leading scorer next year.
Yeah. And obviously,
if he comes back.
And also, like, part of that too is Weyburn had 10, 20-year-olds,
right?
Bringing in Pierce, and also a logjam on the back end. So
yeah,
Carlisle moving out also makes sense that way for Weyburn.
Sure.
But I mean,
it was a numbers game for Weyburn.
Nice return. Hey, it was a good trade both ways.
And Hudson Sayers, nothing to sneeze at
really
either.
Skilled,
great young player. Obviously not going to play this year. Probably. I think he's an 09.
Yep.
So not going to play this year, but another
piece.
piece.
U18, AAA.
Yeah, another piece for the future. So with that all out of the way, I think that was our last slide. Yes, guys in the back? I think that was our last one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say yes. Yeah. So with that, we'll go team by team now and just kind of clear it up, because I know that was a lot of information. That was a lot of words.
Yeah.
So let's go team by team and just say who's in and who's out and what it means for the team.
Yeah, we'll try to keep it to be kind of hammer what's really sticks out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Flin Flon Bombers. We'll go standings. We'll go in the order of standings. Obviously, Nugsy, this was the big one.
Yep.
Charlie Tritt, Ryder Knutson, and Connor Miller in. Devin Peck, Beck Beathard, Jacob Bauman, a smattering of draft picks, 2 players to be named later, and player development fees that aren't listed on here. But a big swap for a team that had a clear direction in terms of changing what they're doing in Humboldt, and a big decision in Flin Flon to, I'd say, I'm going to say all in on this season, and a big move.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this was the biggest bomb, pun intended, I guess. I'll take the pun, sure. Why not? I didn't mean the pun, but there you go. I asked Mike Reagan about this, and obviously he and Braden Klamosko, long stick. Can we keep that graphic back up, please? Long-standing relationship together, and obviously Braden Klamosko, the head coach and GM in Humboldt, and none of these guys, and you include Streetsy, did not want a trade. They didn't ask for a trade. They all believed in Humboldt. They all believed in the project there. But the time was right. Braden felt like he wanted to do the right thing for those guys, and for Mike Reagan, like, how do you turn down the best goalie in the league? And I think Devin Peck had good moments for sure. Obviously, they love Finn Werner there in Flin Flon, but you don't want to saddle your horses all to an 08 birth year. So if you can upgrade with the best goalie in the league, then probably go do it. And then obviously Connor Miller played for Mike at the Junior World Challenge last year, not this year, but last year. And so they know each other, and obviously big fan of his for years. And Ryder Knutson, the captain there as well for Humboldt, another veteran guy. One thing about the Flin Flon decor, for the most part, it's not that old. Yeah. It's not that old. Yeah. So Ryder brings a little bit of experience. Obviously he's a rancher boy from Southwest Saskatchewan. He's a hard-nosed kid too. So he definitely fits, quote unquote, the Bomber way. But I think Charlie, again, incredible kid. Best, can't speak more highly of all 3 of these guys, really. And I think it's a different situation. Some people said, it's just like a couple years ago when they had that super team and they made a whole bunch of moves at the deadline and they did too much and they were doing well. I think it's a different situation, Clark. I don't know if you would agree with me, because I think, like Riggs knows these three. He's played against them, especially Miller and Knutson. He knows them well. Miller really well because he coached him. So he knows these guys. He knows them as humans. You know, if Braden Klamosko says a kid is a good kid, then he's a good kid.
Yeah.
Like Braden Klamosko is a great judge of character. That was probably the best thing about Braden Klamosko's coaching ability. So those three guys are going to fit in, and then obviously, you know, it's kind of a numbers game. The ice time wasn't going to be there for those guys, and certain MJ teams always kind of add, and some teams kind of subtract. One of the conferences in the MJ is really stacked, and one of them isn't. So there you go. But you know, if those guys will get opportunities, and those are good teams, Dauphin and Portage. So it's not like dumping them in a bad spot.
Right.
You know, those guys did well for each other. So.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned this on Thursday's show when we talked about it, Nugsy. Obviously, trade deadlines are tough because there's that human element to it. But a lot of these players that were moved out from any of the teams, they're going to some pretty good situations for themselves where they have a good opportunity to maybe get some more ice time or play a little bit of bigger role. So I think that's great for them, and we'll see what happens with them. We'll keep an eye on them going forward.
I should say that actually Humboldt did get, or Flin Flon, pardon me, did get a couple later round draft picks from Flin Flon as well.
In the swap. Basically, it was a pick swap, more or less. Like they sent out first and second round picks. They got like third and fifth. Yeah. So it's just a bit of a pick swap there. Yeah. So there's Flin Flon, and I think, like I said, again, if you watched Thursday's show on SJHL Insider or listened to it, you would have heard me say this. But I think there is an opportunity before this for Flin Flon where they thought this year there hasn't been a super team aspect yet, and we have for the past, I don't know, 5 years probably. Battlefords with Melforts, with Estevans several years ago. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to maybe push themselves into a bit of a different stratosphere. Yeah. We'll see how this plays out. I mean, just because we always talk about just on paper it looks amazing, we'll have to watch it actually play out.
For me, Charlie was the centerpiece, as good as Ryder and Millsy are. And obviously we'll talk to Millsy. You know, nobody's a bigger fan of Connor Miller than me. I know I'm sounding like Donald Trump a little bit there. But anyways, Connor Miller, I'm a huge Connor Miller fan. But I think
Devin, our show just got demonetized.
Charlie Tritt is the centerpiece of that, and then I think it kind of added on top. But for sure, man, what a move by Mike Reagan.
A big move.
Most exciting move, in my opinion, in the time I've been in the league.
And a lot of pieces, a lot of moving pieces, and a lot of future aspects to it.
There's future. Like, there's going to be good players that Humboldt will get back. Yeah. Are we going to look back and say they got full value for those three guys? It's hard to say.
We'll see.
So hard to say. But
we'll get to that when we talk about Humboldt a little bit more. Let's move on. And I was going to say, in the order of the standings, Nugsy, when we were doing the pre-show, our show prep, where we kind of go over the graphics with the guys in the back and the order we want to put them in. I said, okay, so next then we'll do Weyburn. And the guys were like, no, Weyburn's in fourth now. They're not in second anymore. And I was like, whoa, right. This is a big weekend. So let's go to Battlefords now because they have skyrocketed into second place. So they weren't crazy busy. These two moves were more replacement moves because of things that happened that of guys maybe leaving or whatever it was. But two nice pieces for Battlefords. And I don't know, with the way that they've been playing lately, I don't know if they needed to make a huge move. They've kind of gained their own momentum.
Yeah, I would say Alex Coventry is a slight upgrade from Sebastian Miles, who went to the BCHL. Big, 6'7", right shot, physical defenseman. And they needed a goalie with Steele Bass sticking around in Prince Albert. Right. So Michnick, terrific, had a great start. So and not much to say, but not much needed to be said about Battlefords because they're just absolutely on a tear right now.
Yeah, they get a solid defenseman, like you said. Sebastian Miles left the team, so Alexander Coventry, it fits in nicely there. And they needed a goalie because they lost a goalie. And Spencer Michnick, he had a nice run in the Alberta League. Had a different opportunity, tried it out, didn't work out. So now he's found a new spot, and we'll talk about him later on today in the show. But it's nice moves by Battlefords, and again, with the way they've been playing, the momentum they've gained, I don't know if they needed to do a ton.
Don't need to mess it up.
I would say solid deadline if we're grading it. They didn't need a great one.
Flin Flon gets an A. I'd say Battlefords gets an A also just because they don't need to do what's going on there is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it might not be a flashy couple of moves, but at the same time, they shored up what they needed to, and they've been doing their own thing. Yeah. So I think they are good. They're going on an upward trajectory on their own. Yeah. Let's move to the third place team, the Nipawin Hawks. In Mason Egan, before the deadline, Nugsy, on Thursday, we kind of talked about if they're going to add anything, maybe a defenseman. I don't know if I saw this happening personally. I don't know if I realized that Mason Egan was going to be on the move.
Yeah.
But they add a veteran defenseman with plenty of experience. He can come back next year. So they continue to build to that foundation of guys that it's sustainable, this year and into next year. So they move out Jackson Smith. What did you think of when you saw the move or two moves that Nipawin made?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some serious injury problems right now in Nipawin too, without going into too much detail. Also, because I don't know that much detail, but I just know that they need some bodies. They do like Mason. I think he's a junior experienced defenseman with some size and some toughness. He already fought there against Humboldt, so obviously he knows that division well, being in Gintersley all this time.
Sure.
But first and foremost, Nipawin just needed a defenseman. I think that was a piece of it, and they did have a lot of forwards. So Jackson Smith moving out makes sense. Cooper Perrin, talked a little bit about him maybe with Kindersley, but 09 defenseman, probably an SJHLer as a 17-year-old now in U18, with the Saskatoon Blazers. But just generally speaking, I think it was kind of almost more housekeeping almost for Nipawin, which is solid thing to do. Yeah. I'd say you need to do it, but again, they got such a good team, they just need to get healthy. Yeah. They're just so healthy. I'm so banged up right now.
On Thursday, what we talked about with Nipawin was really great forward group. Not sure where you can add because they already added to that forward group that was already good. They added Braden Jochums, they added Brendan Olsen, and they added, I'm missing a guy, they added another one. But they've already...
Drake.
Yeah, well, Jack Drake was out.
Drake.
But either way, they've added to their forward group. Their goalies
Hudson Gaynor,
defenseman. Yeah, thank you. That's who it was. But if they were going to add anywhere, their goalies are two of the best in the league right now, numbers-wise. It was on the blue line. Mason Egan, veteran guy, should fit in nicely there.
I know they tried. I talked to Dana Dirks a little bit. They tried to upgrade into different places, but they didn't feel like from the player pool that they had, they wanted to get rid of anybody.
Sure.
And then and teams that we're going to deal with them wanted players.
Right.
So it just didn't work out. So all they could kind of do was what they did, which again, they're not unhappy.
There you go.
But it is what it is.
Thank you for that insight. That's good insight there. So for those asking, now Nugsy told you. All right, let's move into now the Weyburn Red Wings, who were in second place before the weekend, but not anymore. But now this doesn't include goaltender Joey Rocha coming in.
Yeah.
So think about that as well as part of the ins. But Ryland Pierce, a big one, SJHL experience, a ton of WHL experience, and he's coming to a really good situation now in Weyburn, so that should be a great fit. Plus they got potentials with the rights to Avery Johnson, the rights to Hudson Sayers, two very talented players. We'll see what happens with that down the road. Out, Preston Pattanaud, obviously with Joey Rocha coming in. The 19-year-old needed a spot, and Melville's a great fit for him. I love that fit for him. And then Bryson Carlisle, of course, out to Kindersley. So a bit of a defenseman swap with Carlisle to Pierce. Two different styles of players. But I think we talked about it with Weyburn. If they were going to add anything, maybe a guy who can continue to help move the puck, maybe a power play type of player. I think they might be getting that in Ryland Pierce, but also a battle-hardened veteran player who's been around the block a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to pick a winner right now in the trade deadline, I know everybody would expect me to say Flin, and obviously they're a winner. I would say Weyburn is 1A, 1B winner in the trade deadline. I mean, first and foremost, great for Cody to work with Doug Johnson. Doug needed a goalie.
Yep.
Preston Pat. Can we put it back up again? I wasn't done talking there about it. Preston Pattanaud needed a spot. Bryson Carlisle, solid player, but Ryland Pierce becomes their best defenseman right now. As I mentioned, 170 Western Hockey League games, mostly with Everett, also time with Kamloops, and of course this year with Regina. But obviously a kid that we know, played for Flin Flon as well a couple of years ago, and a kid that they really like there in Flin Flon, and played really, really well as a rookie. But just sort of that number one guy, can play all situations. Not big, but thick and strong, and move the puck and just generate on the offense, on the power play. Because as good as Luke Schrader is, and Luke Carman, they're really good players. Josh Carman, pardon me. They're all around good players.
Yeah.
But they're kind of two-way guys. Their offense is a little bit capped. I think Ryland brings that to the next level. I talked about how much they've missed Max Chakrabarty. Anybody would. Will Ryland Pierce come in and produce like Max Chakrabarty? I don't know. That's what I'm sure Cody Mapes is hoping. But Cody Mapes has made some good gambles. Obviously, they brought in Munroe from Melfort. That's been awesome so far.
He had a great weekend
as well.
Yeah.
You know, he brought in Josh Sale from Humboldt when he was kind of struggling, and he's been unbelievable. So obviously, it's not as big of a gamble. Not a big word, but Ryland is going to be a good piece for Weyburn, and obviously, I think Cody Mapes has a big smile on his face.
Yeah, great weekend.
I would give Weyburn an A+.
Yeah, great weekend from Weyburn, absolutely. They set themselves up really nicely. Again, they were a team, you can bring back into the studio. They were a team that, again, going into last weekend on Thursday's show, we said, I don't even know what they really need. Maybe, you know, a really solid defenseman if they can get one. Yeah. And I think they got one.
So they got Rocha. They got Pierce.
Yeah.
You know, they found homes for good kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And like they didn't do too much to upset a good thing they have going there.
Yeah.
I think Cody did a perfect job.
Great work over there to all those involved in Weyburn. Let's move on down the highway a little bit to the Estevan Bruins. Not as crazily busy. They did receive, I'll say, Caleb Potter back again from the Swift Current Broncos. He's kind of been yo-yoing a little bit. But now for the remainder of the season, they will have Caleb Potter. And they brought in Bennett Muller from the Swan Valley Stampeders, of course, a 19-year-old forward. What was one move that I kind of thought maybe if they were going to do anything, maybe just like a middle six forward to balance out the roster a little bit. So from a fit perspective, I really like it. Yeah. We'll see kind of in the next couple of games how they kind of, if they shift the lines much at all, but it's not going to touch their first line. That's been outstanding all season long. Yeah. It was just going to shift around that middle six, which I think just getting a veteran guy in that middle six is a great fit there. And then Alex Sheck, again, it's more of a numbers game than anything for him. Was going to run into an opportunity issue in Estevan, so they ship him to Swan Valley where he'll get a great opportunity to get some ice time. So great move for Alex Sheck, personally, I believe. He'll get some good ice time there. Caleb Potter comes in, and we saw Caleb Potter earlier this year. Seems like a nice fit on that roster. So we'll see. But what did you think of Estevan's moves?
Yeah, I agree. Just sort of a middle of the lineup forward. That's not an 05. Again, Muller can come back next year and be a big piece. Obviously, they got a good BC contingent already on the Estevan Bruins, too. So I'm sure he's got some familiarity with some of those guys, too. So there's that. Swan Valley obviously dealing a lot of guys away at the trade deadline.
They were busy.
They were busy all over the place.
We might have to have two graphics for Swan Valley.
It's been a tough year for Swan Valley in the MJ. Let's call a spade a spade. But yeah, Caleb Potter again. The familiarity was with them last year. It was really good. So now he's back, and they got a lot of good D-men there now in Estevan. Got a lot of puck-moving D-men. Yeah. Again, I'm sure Drew was trying to do a lot, and this is what he did, which is solid. Give it a solid B. But yeah, I mean, Estevan, again, they're rolling, they're doing fine.
Yeah, they're having a great season. Just want to mention, too, as you can see on all of our graphics at the bottom right corner, if you mention the SJHL at Capital Automotive Group, you can get a $1,000 trade-in bonus. They're the official trade sponsor of the SJHL. So if you're looking for a vehicle, you're in the Regina area, you have a Capital Automotive Group nearby, stop in, say, hey, I'm an SJHL fan, and they'll give you an extra $1,000. Why not? Yeah. Let's move on, I think, unless you want to...
You know what else Drew Kosher acquired was the gold medal at the Viking Cup.
The gold medal at the Viking Cup.
Yeah.
Big acquisition.
Love that.
Let's move on to the Yorkton Terriers. Stay in the Bungie division, move down the highway again a little bit. They made a couple of great moves. Going into the deadline, we thought maybe there would be a opening for maybe a big forward addition. But we also said specifically some bodies on the blue line that will be impactful, I think will be very important. They bring in Gavin Bartha, a 19-year-old from Swan Valley. And they bring back, this is a big one for me, I think, Tyler Palin from the NAHL. He was with the Terriers last year, had a very good season last year. But bring him back this year, great fit, already know him, comfortable with the player. They know he's going to fit in their roster. They know he's going to fit in the locker room. And Gavin Bartha seems like a guy who's having a solid season. I think he was an assistant captain for Swan Valley. So another leader type of player, 19-year-old. He's eligible to come back next year. So they really, to me, improved their blue line.
And Nathan Gray,
right? I guess
from the Swift Current Broncos,
another
2008 birth year as well. So the Yorkton decor we talked about all year, like someone needs to help good old Tommy Reese back there. Those guys were not bad at all. Like a solid job. We watched Yorkton play even without Tommy when he was at the Junior World Challenge, and they kept it very, very simple and played a very steady game against Weyburn and Weyburn. But Bartha, Palin, and Gray all come in now to that forward core that's scoring for fun right now.
Right. And the best line in the league,
the Parkland region. Telling you what, anybody that goes and faces any of these Parkland region teams in the playoffs are not going to have any fun. Because, there's a little bit of length and depth and experience now alongside. Obviously, you look at Gavin Bartha, another, Okanagan kid in BC, struggled as, it seems like it's a tough organization lately with Olds there in the AJ, and then went to Swan and exploded in the Manitoba League, had huge offensive numbers. But yeah, Palin had a tough time in the Null, but we know what he can do in the SJ. And then Gray, obviously, with Western League experience. So 3 new D-men. For Yorkton in the lineup right away. Can't wait to see them tomorrow when they play on. Take the Estevan Bruins on. That'll be very interesting.
That'll be a great game. So I think the big thing, and for Terriers fans who are like, oh man, they seem like they moved a lot of guys out. But you have to remember, another guy not on there, because he moved out a little earlier on, was Quinn Johnston. They had Thierry Laliberty and Quinn Johnston, 2 20-year-old defensemen, but they've been hurt all year. They've only each played 8 games. So when you come into a season and you're kind of relying on 2 20-year-olds to be big parts of your blue line, and they're not in the lineup, they needed to make some changes. And these are 2, and if you count Gray, 3. Really nice pieces to add.
And what I talked about too, we were talking on the Insider too, was I wondered if Emery Lawson was going to look for maybe another older kind of centerman that had a little bit more offensive upside. Well, the answer that we're getting from this is that he really believes in Evan Ald to continue to grow in that part of his game. Obviously he's got Ty Henricks in there too. Those guys are, in my view, a little bit similar, but obviously Tylen's more of a winger and Ald is more of a centerman. So it's up for those guys to really provide that secondary scoring. And we're also just continue seeing Cash Lanigan continue to be unbelievable. Aiden Valance has taken another big step as well. So I think that's what we've seen, is that Emery decided, hey, we're going to try, but if we're not going to sell the farm to get another big forward, and they trust their younger guys too.
I had you can come back into the studio here, guys. I had a Regina Pack Canadians fan text me just before the deadline and was like, hey, what are the odds Cash Lanigan might come back to AAA? And I'm like,
Zero.
Because
zero.
He's very good.
No chance.
He's very important to that team.
He's been the best 2008 birth year in the SJHL.
Yeah, he's very important to that team, so probably not, you're not getting him. Don't hold your breath.
No.
But funny in either way. Let's move on now. Number 7, why am I blank? Humboldt. I guess we're on to Humboldt, I think, right? Or Kindersley. Number 7 is Kindersley. So let's bring up the Kindersley Clippers and see what they did in terms of ins and outs. Now, this is a bigger list because there was a couple of moves with a lot of pieces. They brought in Hunter Motley. This is a move, kind of a corresponding move to what happened with Avery Johnson after the Christmas break. So they bring in a 20-year-old forward, Hunter Motley. A body, but not a ton of production necessarily so far in his junior hockey career, but a veteran body, never hurts. Owen Turner, a swap there. Owen Turner, you see Jordan Lafleur on the other side. So there's a swap there, 19-year-old defenseman who apparently they really like there, so a nice fit there, hopefully. Bryson Carlisle, he comes in, so again, another shift from Mason Agan to Bryson Carlisle, a bit of a different style player, and then the rights to Cooper Perrin, of course, from Nipawin in the Mason Agan trade out. Jordan Lafleur and Mason Agan, of course, the 2 rights to Avery Johnson and Hudson Sayers in the Weyburn trade. So Nugsy, I was saying on Thursday on the Insider Show before the deadline, this team was kind of confusing to me. They make some moves. I'm not sure exactly whether they greatly or vastly improved. They shuffled the deck, got some new faces. They probably brought guys in that they liked in terms of who they've scouted. Sounds like they really like Turner. They probably really like Carlisle. So those guys are going to fit nicely, I'm sure, in that group. But when you look at Kindersley now after this trade deadline, what are you thinking about this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, they really like Jordan Lafleur in Kindersley, just as a human being, even first and foremost. They like Mason too. We talked about how they didn't love feeling like they needed to move them, but I feel like they wanted to get a little bit older as a team, a little bit bigger as a team. Bryson Carlisle's a big boy on the back end.
Yeah.
Obviously, they got Cohen Loney, but after that, it's not the biggest back end. So getting Carlisle in, who is a big boy back there, and Turner's a hard-nosed kid. I know it's a guy that Ryan Gibson, the GM in Kindersley, liked for a long time.
Sure.
Ever since he was on Melville. So, there's that piece to it. Obviously, Hunter Motley isn't a replacement for Avery Johnson.
No.
There is connection where, Gibson knows somebody that knows somebody, yada, yada. That's how it works. But Hunter Motley's going to be a gritty, kind of more, physical center than Avery Johnson was, and sort of down the middle. You can always add centerman if you can. And Cooper Perrin, again, a D-man we talked about that they like for the future. But I think it's a situation, again, where you and I were like, are they really going for it? Are they going to try to make some big moves and kind of blow something out of the water? Are they going to sell? Obviously, they've got some really good 20-year-olds, Van Egger and Russ Demo and Jacob Dennis back there. Like, are they going to move those guys? Which way are they going to kind of go? They kind of went the middle path. Obviously, they got lots of guys back next year, too. So
they shuffled the deck.
They shuffled it a little bit. They shook things up. But that means to me that they still believe in what they have in Kindersley to make some noise this year, and believe that they have a future as well. So again, I think it's fine. It was a solid B to kind of stay where they are, not go crazy. I think Carlisle's the biggest piece for me, literally and metaphorically. But
maybe clean up the blue line a little bit and play a little bit different style back there, and who knows, maybe it'll change the whole outlook of the team. But like you said, I think we were like, are they going to try to make a huge move, or are they just going to tinker? But like you said, we even put them potentially into a seller's position where they might sell off some of their older players and really look
for
forward
me,
to
it was
the
a
future
thing
group.
where I wouldn't be shocked whichever direction they went. And usually you don't see that with a team. You usually say
they took
one
the
way or
middle, and it is what it is. I still really like this Kindersley roster. I've said it all year long. I really like this Kindersley roster. So we'll just have to see how these moves change things up a little bit and see how they kind of perform the rest of the way. Let's move on now to the team that everybody's kind of been talking about. It's the Humboldt Broncos, Newsy. So they bring in Morgan Hackman, a familiar face with Matt Bradley, who was a Flin Flon Bomber to start the year. Wasn't involved in the Bomber trade, though, because the Bombers moved him earlier this year to Northern Manitoba in the MJ. So he comes back to the SJHL. He'll now be a tandem with Brady Holtvogt. But the more important thing, I think, is this is going to be one of the few trades where we can say the future considerations are going to be possibly the best part of this entire deal.
Probably,
because of some of the names that were thrown around, and we won't get into that right now because of circumstances. But some of the names that were thrown around, we'll see. They could be massive. It might turn into nothing,
we'll see.
But it could be massive. I'll just say that. But Morgan Hackman, great young player, going to fit nicely into that group.
Big centerman.
Yeah, like the big part obviously is the outs. So I'll let you kind of dive in how you want to approach this.
Well, I'll just quickly there. Morgan Hackman, obviously Western Hockey League experience too, committed to Minnesota State, Mankato D1, big boy. He's huge. He's a center as well. So again, you take away a centerman there in Connor Miller, you put another centerman there in Morgan Hackman, and he's going to play a big role right away for Humboldt. And so there you go. And obviously Brady Holtvogt's going to get the bulk of the starts you'd think for the Broncos the rest of the way, but Matt Bradley's going to get good support there. And Matt's a really talented goaltender too. They really liked him wherever he's been. So there you go. The second thing is, obviously I talked about Jacob Streetsy. I spoke to Jacob. His family was very grateful to you and me and to IKS and everything that we've done for him and his family, and meant a lot to me to hear that. We usually hear people complaining. We don't usually hear people telling us that they're happy with our work. So we appreciate that, the Streetsy family. Jacob, he loved Humboldt. He didn't necessarily want to leave. He wanted to continue with that project. I think it's a situation where if there was a place he wanted to go, it was Milton, because his best friend, Ashton Pacheco, who also played with him at North York in the OJHL years ago, is a player for the Milton Menace. They're a good team. They're a really good organization. They could be at the Centennial Cup. I think it's a good spot for Jacob.
Spot for him.
Yeah, not too far from home. You see the picks going out. But I think the thing about this, the last thing I'll say is, if you wrap this Humboldt Broncos thing in a package, is that Braden Klamosko, it's not just the trade deadline either. They've been slowly building this. It's not a quick turn. It's that we feel like we have older guys that can carry us far. We've got younger guys that, if it's not working out in the future, will go. Remember, they brought in Cameron Grande. They brought in Nathan De Silva. Got back Brady Holtvogt from the Western League. You go down the list. They bring in, Hackman, they have a bunch of young players moving forward. They still have Huey, they still have Tice Penrod. Like, they still got all these kids that we
Owen
all
Chapman.
love. Owen Chapman. You go down the list, you look at their roster, and if the Humboldt Broncos don't make the playoffs, I'll be stunned. Honestly stunned. I know that's a later segment, but I still I like the group. I said to Braden, I messaged him, I said, I love the work that you did. Sure, it's a tough time right now, but love the work you did, and this team is built really well for, to be tough right now, but to build for the future.
One more in and one more out that aren't on this list because they weren't involved in trades necessarily. Jeter Cordy, out. So for those wondering why he didn't show up on the rosters this weekend, he's out. We won't get into a whole lot of details as to why, but Jeter Cordy, 20-year-old forward, was having a really nice season.
And Marek Mamek is back.
And Marek Mamek is back, who had a great season last year. He battled through some injury stuff to get back into this position. Wanted to come back. They let him back in. I don't know the full story there, but we'll hear the story about it, I'm sure, soon. But a great story there, and really looking forward to seeing Marek back in the lineup for Humboldt the remainder of the season. So some cool stories there. But yeah, really, really, a big season in Humboldt in terms of trying to figure out what they want to do, and this is a clear direction now. Let's move on now to the team that Humboldt is tied with in the standings right now, the Melville Millionaires, Nugsy, and they made some moves. I really like what they've done as well. They needed a goalie, and Preston Patnaud is that guy. He was having a solid season in Weyburn, just became a numbers game there. So he's now going to tandem with Matthew Spencer Dahl, and I think that's a really great fit for him, and hopefully, push for the starting role next year, of course. Zane Norman comes in, the captain of the Larange Ice Wolves. I think he's a great fit for this roster. I'll be curious to see when they start getting back in the roster sheets and stuff where Zane Norman ends up on a regular basis. And then Maddox Schindel, big-bodied defenseman from the Manitoba League. So they got a little bit of everything. They got a goalie, they got a forward, they got a defenseman. Out, of course, this one was a move that doesn't really have a whole lot of effect on our league, but the rights to goaltender Ben Lorette, of course, you remember Ben Lorette was their goalie last year. So they traded his rights away. He's going to end up in Bonnyville. Carter Turchak to Larange in the Zane Norman trade. Carter Wingert to Larange in the Zane Norman trade. And then some draft picks and player development fees as well, just to kind of balance out the trades. But really like what they did. They kind of got a little bit of everything, Nugsy. And clearly, Doug Johnson likes this roster enough to add to it and make a nice little push here at the end of the season.
Yeah, and obviously, really tough year for really all the veterans in Larange, to be honest. Like, let's not mince words here. Those guys, I'm sure, are sitting there looking in the mirror thinking, we didn't really do the job this year, unfortunately. So Zane is somebody that anybody who's been around Saskatchewan for a while knows has offensive tools in his toolkit. Really tough, hard-nosed centerman as well, plays the game the right way, what Doug Johnson's going to love. And it's a situation where Doug Johnson valued him really highly to move on some of those young players, especially Carter Wingert, who I know Doug Johnson loved. Big boy, really big boy, physical boy up front. So there's that. Obviously he's up with Prince Albert in the AAA league right now. But Zane is going to come in and be a perfect fit again for Melville, another guy that's going to make it not fun to play against the Melville Millionaires. Obviously, Maddox Schindel, 6'4" D-man. They've got 6'3" Boston Harkness. They've got 6'4" Wesley Golden.
Oh man!
Now they have 6'4" Maddox Schindel.
Brody Hicks has some size.
Brody Hicks. And they got some guys again like Cregan who play bigger and whatnot. So it's an interesting group. And obviously, Patnaud, they needed a goalie. With Sinagowitz taking off on them, and Weyburn needed to send Preston somewhere and gave him a good spot and a good home. Gotta love to see it, and I love when people actually care about these kids, especially in trade deadline time. Clearly Cody cared about Preston Patnaud and gave him a good character check to Doug there in Melville, and Cody and Doug are good friends, so that worked out great. But I think Doug Johnson's going to be happy, and I think certainly with Zane Normand, I really believe in the kid. I really like the kid. And I really think that he's going to really start to put up some points now. Yeah. I know it was a tough year offensively, but back in his AAA days, he was in Warman and Battleford, he was a player. Yeah. So he's a kid that can contribute. I think again, maybe I was looking for Melville to add another kind of pure offensive guy because I know that's tough. I know they have Rylan Oatman. They're still waiting for him to really explode. Cal Margolis has been so consistent. Maybe a third kind of amigo there would have been something that Doug would look for. But maybe maybe Zane Norman can be that guy.
Yeah, 20 points in 28 games last year with Larange, Zane Norman.
Health has been a problem.
So he's got it. Yeah, 20. He only played 28 last year. He's already almost played that many this year. So I think, like you said, the right fit, and we'll see how he kind of shuffles into this lineup. Could be a really nice, great way to end off his junior career for Zane Norman. We'll move on now to Melfort Mustangs. Now, Nugsy, this was a team where I don't think either of us truly knew what they were going to do. Again, they were kind of in the similar vein as Kindersley, where we're like, they could almost do all the options, so we're not quite sure. But what they ended up doing was a little bit of everything. They got a forward in Noel Englot, 20-year-old forward from the Manitoba League. Again, brother of Drew Englot, for those who might know the name from the junior hockey circles. Darren Hunt, really solid defenseman from the Swan Valley St. Peters, 19-year-old, and Connor Iwazik from the Lloydminster Bobcats for the Ryder Ellis trade. Ryder Ellis out, Reese Nyland out, Trey Marcus out, Austin Ashovey out. So they did move some players out. Maybe not as many as some people hoped, because they wanted to see some fireworks coming out of Melfort with some bigger names, some big names. Austin Ashovey, obviously very skilled defenseman. Honestly, I kind of thought maybe he would find a spot within the SJHL that might be a really good fit for him. But either way, they shuffled the deck as well, I would say. Nugsy, so what did you think about Melfort's weekend?
Well, what did I say, though? I did say, based on what I was gathering intel, that they weren't going to move their big fish.
Right.
They weren't interested in moving Bo Eisner. They weren't interested in moving Zayden Saddlemeyer. And those guys weren't interested in being moved. Like I had some really interesting chats, especially with Zayden Saddlemeyer in the Viking Cup, and I wanted to be careful what information I was sharing, but I knew he loves Melfort. He didn't want to leave. So he didn't leave, and so there you go. So Melfort's really going to try to make something of it. I know it's been a tough year. Obviously, Noel Englot, the Englot family is somebody that is one that we know around. Obviously, Drew, a long time with the Regina Pats, and both Notre Dame kids as well. So there's that. Obviously, I know the family a little bit. And then obviously get some younger guys in there too. Hunt and Iwazik can both come back, be a part of that. I know Trey Marcus. That was part of kind of this whole big swap there with Swan Valley to get Darren Hunt in the door. Obviously, Warman also sent Wiley Smith to there, so we'll talk about that with Warman, I guess. But it was all part of the same kind of move. Didn't really work out with Ryder Ellis either, and Reese Nyland, both guys that came in this year for Melfort. Just situations just don't work for kids sometimes. But it's really hard to say what's going to happen the rest of the year for Melfort. But Trevor Blevins does not ever know how to punt on a season. And he isn't punting on this season. So still come out and support Melfort fans, because it's not going to be a retool year, at least not from Trevor Blevins' perspective.
Yeah, when Trevor Blevins plays Madden, he goes for it on fourth down every single time. He doesn't know what punting means. So there you go. He added some pieces. We'll see how it goes and see how the fit is for all those guys, and it should be interesting. The Warman Wolverines, we'll move on to them. They moved some guys in and out as well. A couple of 3 20-year-old players out the door in terms of on the roster. Dylan Hebert, Kane Kennedy, and Hudson Kerr out the door. Hudson was he was battling some injuries this year, but Kane Kennedy, one of their leading scorers, Dylan Hebert, a nice 20-year-old defenseman. Wiley Smith was involved, I think, all the way back to the Notre Dame days in the Liam Hunks trade.
That's right.
So, a player out there, 19-year-old. But they get 3 young players that fit their roster, to me, really nicely. Trey Marcus, a Warman product, coming home to play in his hometown team. Very cool story there. Could be actually have a nice big role there this season. Trevor Oishi, a really nice fit, I believe, on that blue line, and then William Sumner in 07. Again, just fitting the timeline of what the Warman Wolverines are looking to do, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Brett said, obviously I talked to Brett a lot, as you probably all know, and he was mentioning, we need to go young, we need to build for the future, and obviously, especially in Marcus and Oishi, and to some degree Sumner, obviously big body D-man. It's just another guy you kind of throw on this pile of 07s essentially, and obviously you throw Ethan Dundas in there as well in 08. You think about Oishi and Fierson Lindorf as a pair maybe next year. Is there a better pair to think of? There's not too many. That's going to be awesome.
It's a great piece to go into the season.
Having a fantastic season. So you put those two guys together. Obviously no out for Vinny Palmerine. A lot of people were wondering, is Vinny going? And I said, Vinny's not going anywhere. Just calm down, everybody. So there you go. But it's a situation too where they need to build for the future. I know that's maybe not sexy, if I can use that word, for a new organization, a new franchise. But I think if Brett's he couldn't afford to kind of just sit on guys and hope for the future. I think this is a thing where it's different to Notre Dame now for Brett, where he can kind of really think and hope that these guys, these young boys, obviously you throw in, Oliver Nottingham, you throw in Carter Bergen, you go down the list of all those guys that he's also added over the course of the year that have been pretty decent, Cam Sarna, et cetera, 07, young guys. They'll come back and be part of this Warman team and build something together for a while, hopefully, for Brett Pilkington and the Warman Wolverines. And so that's kind of all there is to say about it. Obviously, I loved Hudson Kerr dearly as a kid. Incredible family. He's going to go down to Utah there, and he's going to be close to some guys that we know. Obviously, Dylan or DJ Freegang and Ripley Garden are kind of down there, so obviously they're buddies and they know each other well down there. So there's that. His injuries didn't really let him come back and be a force this year, unfortunately. And the one guy that they probably got real good value, well, the two guys I guess they got value for, was Kennedy and Smith there, as they had good years. Hebert was injured as well a lot since coming in from the AJ.
Yeah. So I think if you're a fan of the Warman Wolverines, I would hope to think that you see this and you say, this is a good move for me as a fan for next year and the future years, potentially 3 seasons of these guys. So I think it's a great few moves. We'll finish things up now. Just a production note for the guys in the back. I know we have Connor Miller, our guest today, in and waiting. Connor, thank you for your patience. What we're going to do is, after the L'Orange Ice Wolves trade in and out, we're going to go to a commercial break. We'll interview Connor, and then after our interview with Connor, we'll actually talk about the games that happened this weekend.
As quick as we can.
As quick as we
With
can.
as much respect as they deserve.
Yeah, so we're gonna switch up the order of the show a little bit, just because I know that this is obviously what a lot of people are here watching for, to figure out what happened. So let's go to the L'Orange Ice Wolves. We'll show you their ins and outs, and then we'll wrap up the trade deadline talk. Obviously, bringing in Jordan Lafleur and Jackson Smith. Very similar strategy to what Warman did in terms of bringing in guys that fit their timeline, guys they can use for the next couple of seasons. Trevor Oishi was a different situation, of why he moved out, but he found his fit. Zane Normand, obviously the captain, they found us a nice spot for him. Should say center, not goalie, obviously, besides Zane Normand. And then Nikita Kulikov just needed a different spot, so they found a different spot for him. But bringing in Lafleur and Smith, I think two guys are going to get really good opportunities in L'Orange and Nugsy. And I like the fit for those two players, and we should see in the next couple of days what they end up in terms of what role they're going to have with this team. But I like what their opportunity they have in front of them. Yeah,
very similar to Warman. I hope L'Orange players stick together. I've talked about this a bunch. Both Smith and Lafleur have some size and range to them. They liked Lafleur, as I said, in Kindersley, so he's a guy that was pretty well sought after by a bunch of teams, and good for L'Orange to land him. And I should say Nikita Kulikov is in 06, not in 05.
Yeah.
That's okay. And back to Chilliwack. He started the year in Chilliwack. He was in Chilliwack last year with the Jets, and he's back with Chilliwack this year. Played at the World Junior D1s, came to L'Orange for a little bit, didn't work out. Now he's back to Chilliwack. That's the way things go. But I hope all the best for all those Ukrainian kids around there.
Yeah, so super cool story, Nikita Kulikov, and again, we wish him all the best. He's a great kid. So there you go. That's kind of wraps it up. I hope that kind of covers everything in terms of showing you all the trades, and then obviously looking team by team and who's in and who's out. We'll talk to you a little bit more later on in the show about the weekend, and then what all of this kind of means in terms of the playoff picture, because that's what it's all about, obviously. So we'll talk about that later. But when we come back from the break, we're going to be joined by, this is again going to be weird to say, Flin Flon Bombers forward Connor Miller. Super weird.
Not Flin Flon Bombers' enemy.
Yeah, not anymore.
Forward.
No, he's switching colors. So we'll talk to Connor Miller after the break. Stay tuned.
The Price Beat Guarantee is back at Capital GMC in Regina. We will beat any price on any new vehicle from any competitor, or you get $500 cash guaranteed. The Price Beat Guarantee at Capital GMC in Regina.
At Vanderstad, we're partnering with North American farmers to create the perfect emergence. We're doing this with new and innovative tillage, planting, and seeding solutions, optimized for the field conditions that you face, and with industry-leading capacities to help you get the job done in short windows of time, so you can maximize yields. Vatterstad, we look forward to growing together.
Thanks, mister.
Every ticket you buy funds programs all across Saskatchewan, like sports. Buy your tickets today.
In the last decade, the construction industry has reduced injuries by 46%. That's as many injuries prevented that would fill several stadiums. Find out more at scsaonline.ca.
Feeling like your dreams are out of reach? RBC has programs and resources to help you open the door. With RBCX Music, RBC Training Ground, and RBC Scholarships, your idea of your highest potential happens here.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back inside for SJHL Weekly. Just under the wire, I think we fixed the problem we were having in the commercial break. So I believe we have Connor Miller now joining us from the Flin, Flon Bombers. What's going? That sounds weird. It's going to be weird to say for a little bit, but let's bring him in now. Connor Miller.
He's already got a sweater. Look at this guy.
Connor, welcome to the show. Appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. No problem.
Obviously, it's been a wild few days, I'm sure, going from Humboldt, where you've been for a few years now, to Flin Flon, and we'll get into what that all means in a minute. But first off, just from the human element side of things, when you got the call, what was your reaction, and how did it all go from there?
Yeah, it was just another day in Humboldt, and was at the rink, and I forgot my keys in the rooms. We were just doing the hot tub and the workout there, and I went back, and Braden gave me the heads up that they're planning on doing it, and just wondered what I thought, and it all just kind of fell in place from there.
For sure. And again, nice sweater. The player stuff that they're coming out with is so nice. And apparently more is on the way, Neugebauer, by the way, so just heads up there. But Connor, obviously, going from a team that I don't even know how to explain it. First place early in the year in Humboldt, and then a bit of a slide there to now back into first place with Flin Flon. So personally for you, when you talked to Mike Reagan, coach of the Bombers, what were your reaction and what was the vibes that you got from him in terms of what kind of role you're going to play on this team?
Talking to Mike, it sounded like team is very deep, and it's going to be a 4-line team. We're going to work teams into the ground and skate and move the puck well, and we're going to fit in everywhere, right? It's guys got a role to do, and just got to do it, right? And talking with Rags, we've got a good group here. Being around the guys for a couple of days now, I think there's something special here.
Yeah, obviously pretty cool. Now, obviously, I mentioned it earlier in the show, you have played for Mike Reagan before at the Canada Junior A World Challenge last year. I guess, how much did you take from that, you're hoping to know, like, this is what Mike wants, this will keep me, where I want to be in his good books?
Yeah, it definitely took some of the nerves away. I knew it would be a good spot with Rags being the coach and playing for him already. So he had super high expectations at that tournament, and he has him here with his team, and excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, you were a part of the Broncos organization, for a very long time. You suited up in the maroon for the first time there, I guess, in L'Orange. How weird was it to wear a different jersey?
Yeah, it took a while to get used to it. By the third period, it started feeling a little normal, and a couple buddies on the team I knew Wyatt Stint and Hudson Brio before, so definitely made it a little more comfortable. And the guys were super welcoming, and they helped out a lot on the bench.
For sure. First game with the Bombers, you line up beside Joey Lees, guys leading the team in scoring right now. Hometown kid, and Daniel Morozov. But let's just stick with Joey for a sec. I mean, what was it like lining up with him and getting to know him over the first few days with the team?
Yeah, it's been good. It was nice not getting in the dot with him anymore. That was something I look forward to. And the chemistry of that game with Joe and Mo there, it was pretty good. We moved the puck very well, had lots of chances, so couldn't ask for a better game with those guys.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, in a move like this, often it's kind of one guy that's a big player goes for a whole bunch of guys the other way, but you had two guys that go in with you in Charlie and Ryder. Now, talk about being the understanding that you were going with guys that you also had that kind of comfort factor that you knew, and obviously are two beauties, if I may say so myself.
Yeah, it was nice to know they were coming with me. Definitely made the drive up here pretty nice, and just helping each other move in, get comfortable, and it's good having guys like that in your corner, right? So I thought that was pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. Now, again, I also do want to ask kind of about the Humboldt project. I know it's the team that you want to kill now, probably, but just talk about kind of what you saw, from the perspective of Braden Klamosko. And I know you don't want to speak for him, but it seems like the future is good, and to leave a place that that the future is very bright. At least you're not leaving it like in a tire fire situation. At least is my point.
Yeah, I understand what he's doing there, and he's got to do what's best for the team. And I don't want to get in too much of it because it's not my place. But he knows what he's doing. He's won the league multiple times. He's won Coach of the Year, so he knows what he's doing. And I hope the guys are believing him. So he's going to be good there.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing that I first thought of when I saw this trade go down was not only is Braden a former Coach of the Year, but Mike is also a former Coach of the Year. So this is it was a very complex move. There was lots of pieces, but at the end of the day, the three players, like Nugsy mentioned, you get a couple teammates coming with you. Talk about Charlie Tritt for those who might not know about the guy, because it is his first year in the league, but he lit the league on fire stats-wise. So what can you tell us about Charlie off the ice, behind the scenes? What's he like?
He's very humble, down-to-earth guy. You would never thought he'd be anything bigger than anyone. He fits in with everyone, does everything with the guys. You couldn't ask for a much better dude than Charlie Tritt. Yeah,
for sure. And then just the last one before we get into rapid fire. Obviously Jacob Streetsea goes also off to Milton. I guess just talk about how much fun it was to play with Jacob over the years too.
Yeah, it was fun playing with Striz. We started in Humboldt together and left at the same time. So I thought it was pretty sad to split apart from him. It was fun playing with him for the 3 years, and having one last game in Warman there 2 weekends ago was pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. All right, just some rapid fire questions then for you, Millsy. I'm sure you've watched our stuff enough to know, and your old broadcaster used to do it, but now I do it, so here we go. We got no animation for it though, but whatever. You can imagine there's some animation, that's fine. All right, obviously the best restaurant that everybody says in Humboldt was Johnny's Bistro. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. What is your Johnny's Bistro order?
Dry ribs and Caesar salad. That's you can't beat that.
You can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
Really?
Fair enough.
Can't go wrong.
Good stuff. What is your best Chicken Chef order so far?
Have you had it? Yeah.
Have you had it yet?
No, actually, the guys are there right now, and I believe they're watching this. So,
Hi guys.
I'm like, I had to do the weekly. So,
hey, look at what a character.
Honestly, I feel really bad now that we made him miss his chicken.
He's
chef
prioritizing
experience.
his life and his career in the right.
Right.
He's got his chickens in order, whatever the expression is.
Hey, and the chicken chef. I like
chicken chef.
I like what you're doing.
Do you like to play center or wing more?
Oh man, I don't know. It's I like both. I love getting in the dot and winning draws, and also like being on the wing too. It just yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a preference, I don't think.
Sure. I'm not sure there's anybody in the league that has done both as much as you, like, over your career. Just, like, back and forth, back and forth. Quite a lot.
We'll have to find a guy to do some research on that, Nugsy.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where we can find anybody that does research. I know you're a big farm boy back at the farm there in Lipton, Saskatchewan. What's your favorite chore and what's your least favorite chore?
Oh, man. I hate greasing things. That's got to be one of the worst.
It sounds awful.
Yeah, it's not very fun. And I don't know, just maybe working with the guy's dad. It's pretty special doing that.
There you go. Very cool. Obviously, you guys had a heck of a battle. And by you guys, I mean the Flin Flon Bombers and the Humboldt Broncos had a heck of a battle in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
What's one memory that sticks out to you from that series against Flin Flon last year?
Oh, man. Just the guts that we had in Humboldt last year. We had our whole top line was injured, Boris Kaufman, Jeter Cordy, and I was playing with a bum knee, and just the guts that we had up and down the lineup was pretty impressive. We came up, Flin Flon lost 2, but came home and pulled 2 on them. So I just thought that was pretty special, and the atmosphere was awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some chirping back, some talking about that, maybe over the chicken chef a little bit later here. And obviously Daza, what more can we say about Daza? But there you go, our coworker Daza, I should say too. Yeah. The last question then is, are you living with any of the guys that you came up with, or are you kind of billeting on your own, or what's the situation?
No, I'm billeting on my own, but everyone's so close here. Nutter's just down the street and Charlie's just outside of town, so we're super close to each other.
Perfect. That sounds great. Well, thanks very much for Nugsy's Rapid Fire.
There it is. Well, Connor, I'm going to let you go because I know Chicken Chef is calling your name, so I'll let you get going.
Get that C on there.
We'll hopefully see you when you're down south on your road trip coming up, because I know you got a busy stretch coming, but you're going to be down south. So hopefully we'll be in the building. I think whether you're in Weyburn or Estevan or wherever, we'll try to get to that one and see you there. But all the best for the rest of this season and going forward, and we'll chat with you again down the road.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
There we go. Connor Miller, Flin Flon Bomber. There you go. Nugsy, what do you say we take a break and then we actually talk about what we normally talk about early on in the show? We'll get to it after the break. So stick around. We're going to recap the weekend and we'll get to Players of the Week after the break.
Feeling left out of can't-miss moments? RBC has programs and resources to help you open the door. RBC clients get access to concerts, Avion rewards, and exclusive benefits. Your idea of memorable moments happens here.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
Ticket you buy funds programs all across Saskatchewan, like arts and culture. Buy your tickets today.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You can save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinite 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel student deals.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back inside. Segment 3, we're going to actually morph segment 3 and segment 1. So let's go back and talk about what we didn't get to time for in segment 1 because the trade deadline took up pretty much the whole segment. We'll try to get through this here, but let's bring the headlines graphic back up. We'll dive back into the weekend here of the stuff that happened on the ice. We'll start with Starstruck. Topic number 2, Nugsy.
Yeah.
Battleford's North Stars 4-0 last week. Holy cow, these guys just won't slow down. What went right for Battleford's? Because I know you did a little bit of a deep dive. So tell me about what's going so right for Battleford's right now.
Well, obviously, can't bear the lead. First and foremost, they just find ways to win hockey games.
Yeah.
Obviously, historic shootout. It wasn't this game, but the next game, a 3-2 win eventually over Weyburn. 5 games in a row that they were trailing and came from behind to win as well. It doesn't. My thesis statement about the Battleford North Stars right now is it's not. What's the word? It's not fully logical, is what I'll say. Is they've got really good players. They've got a good team. I spoke to Owen Lamb. They said they're really bought in. Anthony Campbell has been an even bigger animal since the Viking Cup.
Yeah.
Clearly, he gained a lot of confidence from that. And I love to see it because that was something I didn't even think about was some of these guys, obviously all these guys are key players on their team that were at the Viking Cup. And Anthony Campbell is obviously extremely important to the Battleford North Stars. But getting that confidence of winning that, doing well in that.
Playing against older guys.
Playing against older guys, obviously that really shot Anthony Campbell up and he took that tournament extremely seriously, as did Gavin Granger. And clearly we're seeing the benefit of that. But here's some numbers for you. They are 11th out of 12 teams in Corsi, which means they're not in the offensive zone that often when they're playing good teams.
For those who might not remember, because we talk about Corsi here and there, but some people forget what that is. Can you just give a quick brief?
Basically, it's how dangerous you are over the course of the game
compared to the other team.
Compared to the other team.
Yeah.
So essentially, they're not that high in that regard. They in their 6-game winning streak, they've had 76 good scoring chances. They've given up 99.
Right.
So again, the other teams are doing well in getting chances against them. The chances were closer in the last 3 games against Weyburn and Melfort. Obviously, Weyburn's a very good team too. So there you have it. Weyburn, they were out good chance 46-52 over those 3 games. They also won them all. So who cares? And then the last thing I'll say is, and this is a great stat, they're 11-0 when they're leading after 1. Only Estevan is also perfect in that regard. They're 14-0 when scoring first. Ooh. They're the only team in the league that's perfect.
Yeah.
Not even a point for the other team when they score first.
Okay.
So that is really impressive. They're 15-0 and they lead after 2. They have an 84.6% penalty kill. That'll do very well as well. But my point is they're getting great goaltending. They're getting timely scoring. It's not always perfect, but at the end of the day, the Battleford North Stars have more goals than the other team. So that's all that matters. And with how do you match up? I wrote about it in the Players of the Week, which you can read now on SJHL.ca. I don't know how you match up against that forwards right now, the way they're playing 4 lines deep.
Yeah.
Everybody on every line has a real ball player in our league, maybe 2 on it right now. So they are just a team that has risen way above sort of what they're projected. It's not always sort of analytically perfect, but they find a way.
4th in the league in goals for, 6th in the league in goals against, 3rd in the league in differential.
Pretty good.
It's an interesting, like you said, the math equation maybe doesn't work out, but you know what does make more sense, Nugsy, and for the fans? They have 8 wins in the last 10 and then 6 in a row.
Yeah.
So they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care about the numbers.
Caden Serpa has been awesome.
Yeah.
And they bring in Spencer Michnick. Welcome to the SJHL, Spencer Michnick. Here's a 21-round shootout.
Yeah, wild.
21 rounds. Second longest, I think, shootout that we kind of have on record.
Yeah.
There was a 25-rounder in the Swiss Junior League in 2018. So that is historic stuff. 4 guys shot twice, including the game winner, which was the play of the week, the Tourism Saskatchewan play of the week, which we can play right now.
Hey, good call. Oh, you caught him sleeping.
They're not ready. It's okay.
There it is.
Nelson picks up the puck, crosses the blue line, wide to the right. He's in, goes backhand, forehanded. Oh, what a save made by Stevens. Sprawling out, making the save with the foot. Savage Keller picks up the puck now, crosses the blue line into the hash marks. He shoots, tried the fire stick poker and turned away by Michnick. Klippenstein crosses the blue line, picks up the puck at the red line, crosses the offensive blue line, slowly going wide, top of the circle at the hash marks, goes back and forehand, and scores! Finley! Klippenstein! Finally wins it for the North Stars!
Great call by Ryan Lambert. Historic shootout win, literally cross hockey, like Nugsy said. So very cool win. And I'll just say this right now, Battlefords fans, if you're listening and you don't sell out that rink over the next couple of months,
figure it out.
This team is a sellout worthy home crowd team. This tickets better be flying out of the ticket printer.
Goals are flying in, and
season.
the tickets better be flying out.
Absolutely. Speaking of a team that had a pretty solid weekend, let's move on to topic number 3 in our headlines, which is a mauling. And of course, when we talk about that, we talk about the Bruins, we of course being Bears, and they blew out the Warman Wolverines, Nugsy. And talk about historic, a historic third period with 9 goals.
Yeah.
I was talking to our good buddy Jeremy Corrigan, and I said, what an epic comeback win. It was, because they were down 1-0 going into the third. Not in this game, it was in the other game. But 9-goal third period in the first game, and then the second game, of course, they got another win. So big weekend for Estevan as they were trying to gain a little bit more ground in that race for the top 4 in the standings, and we'll get to that in a moment. But they kind of lost some ground, not because they were playing poorly, just because the other teams were doing so well above them. But they moved out of the top 4 recently. They're now in 5th. They're 2 points out of 3rd place. So it's all tight up there. But they had a great weekend and a good start in terms of what they need to do to get back into a spot.
Yeah, they're a very skilled team. We've been saying that all year. They're so confident right now. That's the biggest thing. They're trying things. You know, Drew Kosher has instilled in them all year a lack of fear in trying to be creative, being a team that, is okay. You know what? We get hammered for being that 4th D-man in, that's fine. Like, I'm going to try to generate offense and score again. And obviously, when you have Ewan Rennie, who is the best player in the SJHL, on your team, you see that beautiful goal right there. It's a little bit easier because usually the Estevan Bruins have the lead. I mentioned the Battlefords North Stars were 11-0 when they lead after 1. Estevan is 8-0 when they lead after 1 period of play. So the Estevan Bruins, they tend not to give up leads. They tend to just keep piling on when the Avalanche is going because they've got so much skill. They zip it around. They got lots of chemistry. They got a lot of confidence. And obviously, Drew Kosher is looking to guys to be creative, to have fun with the game. It's fun to watch the Bruins play hockey. Again, it's not always the case. Coaches, try to win all the time. Kosher wants to win, but he also wants it to be fun. And these guys are having fun there in Estevan. And obviously they got a skilled team, so that helps.
And they're putting goals in, 2nd in the league in goals for, 8th in the league in goals against. So something I'm sure that is being talked about in the video sessions and everything like that. But given what they did over the course of the last couple of weeks in terms of shoring things up, Caleb Potter coming back, Matthew Ron not that long ago, Jaron Ashby earlier on in the season. Clearly that's been a focus for them. To get the who prints tickets. Hey, go to some of these ticket offices. They print tickets. There are ticket printers.
Marty
they still do it.
Prints tickets.
They still do it. So anyways, but they definitely addressed those needs. They, of course, didn't make a huge splash defensively at the deadline. Obviously, Caleb Potter is a player that comes in. I don't know if he's going to be the answer defensively. He's a very skilled defenseman. We'll see how he fits in. But I think this team knows what they are. I think that's the thing. Some teams don't know what they are. I feel like Estevan knows what they are. They got stronger at what they're already strong at over the last couple weeks. And I think going forward, like you said, they're going to be a fun style of team to watch. Well, and they can play against any team.
Yeah, and the best defense for the Estevan Bruins is to have the puck and go playing offense.
Yeah,
that's just the bottom line. And 9 goals in the 3rd period. That is the NHL record, by the way, for the most goals by one team in a period. That happened twice in 1981 and in 2021, I believe.
Not that long ago, And you mentioned you sent me the
I sent the link
numbers,
and I posted it actually in the recap, but you can go read when they did that against Warman. Yeah, Ormond shorthanded, young, tough one, but yeah, for the Estevan Bruins, get your tickets to go to a fitting place.
Same thing as what I said about Battlefords.
Hey, who doesn't want an Estevan Battlefords playoff series?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
1,000 miles an hour.
It could happen with the way things are working out.
It's wild.
Also, shout out to Lachlan Teterenko, hat trick in that 9-goal period. He had 3 goals in that 9-goal period. So shout out to Lachlan. You and Rennie had a huge night the other night too.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our 4th topic now, and it's Hawk Attack. The Nipawin Hawks. They had been, weirdly, they were kind of sitting in second place there for a while, and out of no fault of their own, very similar to what I said about Estevan, they moved down in the standings. This weekend, they got their spot back at least in 3rd place. They're tied with Weyburn right now. But they had a really solid weekend too, of course, playing Humboldt and Melfort, Nugsy. What can you tell me about Nipawin's weekend?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's tricky too, like for the Humboldt Broncos with, making that move, and this is your team now, young guys, go out and win it, and so
Humboldt twice.
Yeah, they had Humboldt twice. Yeah,
Humboldt
so
twice.
They were 2 1-goal games, and they were 2 tight games. And Brady Holtveld was outstanding in both for Humboldt. The Hawks did pummel him. The shots actually weren't that bad, but the Hawks had plenty of good scoring chances in both games. There was a penalty called in the game at the Elgar Peterson Arena kind of midway through that, and then the Hawks scored on the power play that kind of changed the game, and young teams can get really affected by big moments. And so that's one thing the Broncos will have to keep an eye on the rest of the way. But the effort and the energy and the care was there certainly for Humboldt, and it's certainly there for Nipawin. Now they're, again, talked about them trying to find a way to get healthy and have the same lineup 2 games in a row. That's been a real battle for the Nipawin Hawks, but obviously we don't need to talk too long about how much talent they have because they've got a lot of it. However many guys are hurt, they've got a bunch of guys who are very good also in the lineup. So they felt like they should have won both these games, and they did. They found a way. Was it always pretty? It wasn't, and Humboldt came back, and kudos on the road, young team, just dealt your 4 of your veteran players, 5 of your veteran players, and they still came back and almost tied it here at the Centennial Arena. You see battling there in front, trying to tie it up. So, kudos to the Broncos, kudos for the Hawks for finding a way. And again, if the Hawks could just get healthy, because that's been their biggest issue. They're still in a great spot. They're still fine. If they don't get home ice advantage even in the first round, I think they'll be very disappointed. Even though there's a lot of competition with how good Battlefords and Yorkton especially and Estevan have been, not to mention Weyburn and Flin. So it's tough, but I think the Hawks expect home ice advantage.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We're really truly at a point where home ice advantage might be the difference between winning and losing a series this year.
They're going to be so
with how tight it is.
Yeah.
If that's as big of a factor as some people think it is, this could be the year where it's like, oh, well, we don't have it. That might be the difference. Could be. Just let's bring up the standings, because our topic number 5 is in or out. And of course, we're talking about a playoff spot. But Nugsy, we'll do a quick if the season ended today, because this is always fun. If it ended today.
Oh. Millsy against
now,
the Broncos.
The Flin Flon Bombers would play the Humboldt Broncos.
Of course they would.
Oh my God. Battlefords would play Kindersley. Oh my God. Nipawin and Yorkton would be a really fun series. And then Weyburn and Estevan.
Oh.
Are you kidding me? Can we, Kyle McIntyre?
Just call it.
Stop the count. End the season now.
All the Met rivalries.
Oh my gosh. Of course, Melville's going to say, no chance. No, we're and Melfort too. They're like, excuse us. No.
Yeah.
But holy cow, isn't there some headlines there? Your job becomes a whole lot easier if this was what it was.
Yeah.
However, Nugsy,
chaos ensues.
We're going to play the game called, we're going to make some friends, we're going to make some enemies. We're going to play a game called In or Out. So as we can see, let's just quickly switch over. We'll look at the division standings. Not that it has a whole lot to do with playoff positioning, but just to quickly do it. The Bungie division, of course, we talk about it all year long. Weyburn's at the top, but Estevan and Yorkton are coming up quick, and Melville's not out of the picture. The UPL division, Flin Flon now separating themselves a little bit. Nipawin having a great weekend, though. They got themselves back into it as well. Melfort, they want to be in that picture, but that past 10 games record will say otherwise. They need to sharpen that up, and with the new shifting of their roster, we'll see how that goes over the next few weeks. And then Larange at the bottom. And then in the Nutrien division, it's going to be an interesting finish there, but the Battlefords North Stars put their stamp on it over the last 10 games. The Kindersley Clippers at 37 points, Humboldt with 34, and Warman. So let's go back, Nugsy, to the league standings, the playoff picture. Thank you, Jordan. And we can say, after the trade deadline, now that the moves have been made, we've talked about the moves, we've talked about the roster changes, the ins and outs, we've graded some of the teams in terms of how we think they've done. But we know what their rosters are going to be for the most part. There might be, you know, the odd, I don't know, WHL guy or somebody coming in or out. I don't know how that all is going to work, but generally 99% of the rosters are set. Yeah. So in terms of in or out, as of right now, let's do it this way. The 8 teams that are currently in a spot.
Yeah.
How many of the 8 do you think will make it? And then I guess I'm going to have to say, if you say not 8, who's going to jump up and how?
Make me the bad guy.
Yeah,
oh, well, that's
I'll
okay.
do it too.
I'm used to it.
I'm just making you go first.
I think one team that's not in will make it in, and one team will make it out. I really believe in Doug Johnson and the Millionaires. The way that they play, it's built for this time of the year. They've been building and practicing and working towards it. Wesley Golden is back. Boston Harkness is on, and Fuego. You know, they got the Schindel kid. Melville's ready to go. So it'll be
Talk about a team
tough for a few teams that to kind of hold on to those players.
For sure, absolutely. Talk about a team. I mentioned Estevan. They know what they are and they're good at it. Melville is a team that know what they are, and I think they added to that.
Yeah.
So I really like the direction, and to me, I can't see a scenario where going forward now Melville misses.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you'd be shocked if Humboldt doesn't make the playoffs, Nugsy. The thing about that is I agree with you. I really like Humboldt. I like how they brought back Merrick Mamich. I'm really cheering for him. And some of the situations there, I love how they're going to look. Yeah. I actually love their roster currently, how it's constructed with 07s and 08s. But I think the youth over the course of 30 games is going to change their positioning. I think they're going to maybe miss out. So if I have to be the bad guy for Humboldt fans, I think Melville is going to hop them. I just don't think Kindersley, I think they're going to put some pieces together and figure that out. They're going to stick near where they are. I think Yorkton got better. I just can't see Yorkton going any lower than where they currently are. They got better. And they were already good. And they got games in hand. Great point. So the way I look at it, I think Kindersley's going to stick around right where they are. Melville's going to battle with them for positioning. I think the top 6 right now is going to shift a lot, but I think that's our. In my mind, that's our top 6.
Yeah, I think it's a fight. The only thing I'll say is it's a fight between 7, 8, 9 for those 2 spots.
For sure, and I would love to see Melfort find another level and make a huge push.
They need a huge rest of the way.
They need a huge rest of the way.
They got talent.
And this weekend did not help them at all, but I would love to see it. But the way I look at Humboldt is if you look at, and I mean, talent is going to be a debatable thing here, but when you look at Warman and Larange's roster, just in terms of ages, that's kind of where Humboldt is now in terms of age. So when you look at age and experience and all those things, veterans and stuff like that, you know, both their goalies are 18 years old. Not that Brady Holdfield isn't in the upper echelon of goalies in our league, but young goalies, young defensemen, young forwards, you know what that means eventually, usually when you're playing against teams that are much older. So that's where I think Melville's just going to be able to hop up. But boy, we are going to have 1 to 2, you know, two teams that don't make the playoffs this year that absolutely deserve to make the playoffs, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that all crumbles. Yep. So there you go. There's our in and out for today. Let's have a look at some stats. Why don't we look at some stats? We don't usually do this on a Monday, but after the trade deadline, why don't we have some look at the stats? Ewan Rennie, holy cow, is that a gap? He is leading the league with 58 points, 27 goals, the undisputed stat leader for skaters right now, Ewan Rennie. Rylan Williams, 48 points. Gabriel Corshane has really jumped up as well, 43. Joey Lees with 39. We'll see if that number maybe makes a hop if he's playing with Connor Miller a little bit more often. Jai Zawatsky and William Leonard. How about that top line in Yorkton? Holy cow.
We didn't mention 4 points for Zawatsky, Leonard, and Corshane in that win over Milford this past week.
Unbelievable performance. And again, I think we can maybe put them in the echelon of best line in the league. Of course, you and Rennie, Ryland Williams, and Cash Olsen say, hey, what about us? Anthony Campbell, Josh Knittig, and whoever they have on their wing. They say, hey, what about us?
I like Kobe Sawyer. They put him last time out there. I love Kobe Sawyer because Kobe can fly. So you put those two guys with a kid that can fly. I think it's a good combo.
Almost anyone you put with them is going to do well. Josh Sale with Weyburn with 35 points. I think we'll see some of those numbers in Weyburn jump up here. With the addition of Ryland Pierce on the back end, moving things forward. Cale Margolis has been so good all year in Melville, and then again, Josh Knittig right there with Battleford. So a lot of guys, you see tandems, you see duets, you see some trios up there, you see some familiar teams, but we'll see how much that shifts in the next little while. And then, Nugsy, you wanted to talk about goalies. So I'm going to let you do the goalies. Because we sorted it by wins, and I know you wanted to talk about it.
I like doing it by wins because that gives you a real picture of who's doing well, I think. That's the point, really. I think a goalie looks in the mirror and he says, did I win the game? I think that's the bottom line. That's the way I look at it anyways. Not a goalie. Maybe I shouldn't be talking, but that's the way I see it. If you're a goalie out there and watching, maybe send me a message and tell me you agree or disagree. What stat you look at maybe the most? I'm sure save percentage is maybe second, but obviously Gage just finds ways to win. But I think, I talked about Caden Serpa, talk about maybe a team and a player and a goalie that has come out of, I don't want to say nowhere, because Connor Logan knew exactly who Caden Serpa was, being in BC Junior B with him last year, and knowing him from there, and also what his team was going to be like. But I think even he would say, if he was being honest, and same with Owen Lamb, that the Stars have been even better than he would have expected. 14-5-1-1. That is what you want. Go down the list. Obviously, get Callum Craig, something to prove this year. He was 1A, 1B with Ethan Farrow. It was his time now. He's shown that. Obviously, Charlie doesn't even have a number yet for Flin Flon. I think he does, though, because I think it was on the lineup sheet. But anyways, whatever. He'll be dominant there with Flin Flon, you would think. He had 3 shutouts. 2 of those 3 shutouts were, the first 3 starts of the year. But awesome for Humboldt. Humboldt,
29.
There, 29. Humboldt was right at the top of the league in terms of penalty kill and in terms of goals against, in terms of chance not giving up, things like that. And Charlie had a lot to do with it. So, those are, I think, pretty clearly the top 4. Obviously, Dylan Adams down there in Estevan carries a lot of the load, as well as Nathan Cam. Those 2 guys in Estevan have been terrific. Nate Stevens, had to carry a huge load, there in Weyburn for a while with some health situations going on with Pat Nod. And then, he really, really did well, and I'm sure he'll be happy to kind of share that load now with, with Rocha. And so I think that's really good for him. And obviously, Pat Nod going to share that load with MSD, who's obviously not on this list because he hasn't played enough games. But MSD obviously is a premium goalie in our league. And, through all the tough times in Melfort, look at Case and Kabelka, still in there. So, I think, again, this league has some terrific goaltenders, and there's a big list of them. And if there's the Viking Cup next year, whoever's picking that team has a heck of a time picking which goalie it's going to be.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
That's going to be hard.
That'll be a fun debate.
I don't know who you pick. It's going to be brutal.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun debate. All right, Nugsy, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to take a breath. But after that time, we're going to get to Nugs and Notes.
It's Nugs and Notes. Nugs and Notes.
All right. Over to you, sir. Nugs and Notes.
Yeah, I don't have a ton. One thing I wanted to mention again, Morgan Hackman does add to the league's commitment list with his commitment to Minnesota State Mankato. He was in the Western League when he made that commitment. There were 7 trades on January 10th, 32 deals total since January the 1st, so that's a pretty decent number.
Yep.
And then Tyler Palin, when he was committed to, when he was in the Null with Elmira, committed to Keene State NCAA Division III, that's in New Hampshire. So another couple commitments for our league. Tyler Palin, most of his good work was with the Yorkton Terriers.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. And then the last thing I'll say is the next SaskTel game of the month is right around the corner, January the 23rd.
There it is.
I'll be there. Sean Mullen will be there, and I believe Rob Hart will be there.
Nice.
And Clark, you could be there too if you want.
I might have to.
The Kindersley Clippers in town to take on the Yorkton Terriers, in which should be a terrific matchup. We had a great time in Larange calling that one, the teddy bear toss game, etc. Rob Hart was a thrill to call a game with. I know we have a thrill now with Charlie and Millsy and Ryder Knutson up there now too to call those guys. And I had a great time calling it with him. So, and obviously Sean Mullen's a beauty too. So there you go.
And I believe this week we have, guys in the back, production note. This week we have a SJHL Canalto Hotels Friday Night Spotlight.
Oh.
And it's going to be between the Battlefords North Stars and the Warman Wolverines in Warman. So we'll record that later in the week, of course.
It'll be a war, man.
Yeah, sure will be. But that's two teams.
I'm going to let myself out.
Two teams we haven't talked to yet this year in terms of talking about the coaches and stuff. Connor Logan and Brett Pilkington. So we'll have them on. We'll preview the game, and it should be a good time. All right. Nugsy, now we're technically really into our segment 3. Now we should wrap up the show.
This is going to be our longest, ridiculously long episode.
We're going to wrap up the show really quickly after this, I promise. The players of the week, let's get to it now. We got the 6 players of this past week to tell you about, so we'll rip open the pack of cards and tell you who it is. We'll start with the SGEU MVP of the week. We've talked about him a few times today from the Battlefords North Stars. Anthony Campbell, 9 points this week in a 4-win week for the Battlefords North Stars.
Soupy.
So good since returning from the Viking Cup. He's making his push. He wants to get into the top scoring leaders race. So he's making his push. This week helped him out there. This guy doesn't want anything to do with him getting into the points streak or the points race with the Borgo forward of the week. It's Ewan Rennie of the Estevan Bruins. He himself had 8 points in just 2 games against the Warman Wolverines this weekend. So a big weekend again from Ewan Rennie, who solidified himself as, again,
5-point night.
The undisputed scoring leader of the SJHL. Super U defenseman of the week. We're going back to Battlefords. It's Gavin Granger, 6 points in 4 games, and a huge reason, again, why they were able to win 4 games. Some of them were tight, and he was a big reason why they were able to secure those wins. Another big reason why they were able to get at least one of the wins, this guy right here, the SaskTel goalie of the week. We're going with Spencer Michnick, the new guy, and the biggest reason we picked him, Nugsy, not because he only played the 1 game, but it was a big win against Weyburn, and it was a 21-round shootout win. And his numbers were great as well, as he made 39 saves, I believe, in 41 shots. So a big shout out and welcome to the league for Spencer Michnick, who still has blue pads. So we'll work on that. We'll work on that. They look good, though, Spencer. The Sask Milk Rookie of the Week. Going back the other way, going back to Estevan, it's Cash Olson. He's won this one before. Thank you. Good one, Bryce. 7 points in 2 games, of course, on that top line in Estevan. If any of them get points, they all get points, it seems. Riley Williams had a great week, too. But Cash Olson gets the Sask Milk Rookie of the Week. And then finally, back to Battlefords one more time for the Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Week, and it's Josh Knittig. Another 9-point week for him as well. Same as Anthony Campbell and Josh Knittig. What a player from Saskatoon. So a good Sasky boy right there. Josh Knittig. All right, gentlemen, in the back, let's have a look at what's coming up in the next couple days, and then we'll get out of here. And Tuesday night, that's tomorrow, of course, Estevan will be in Yorkton, and Nugsy and I are thinking about it. We might be also there.
Yep.
It's going to be a great game, though. Wow, the 5th and 6th place teams in the league. And then Weyburn and Humboldt, 2 of the most historic franchises in this league. They battle it out in Humboldt at the EPA Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, 2 more games. The Kindersley Clippers are in Nipawin. Oh, there it is. The Kindersley Clippers are in Nipawin to take on the Hawks. That's a big game as well. Both teams need a win there to get their spots in the standings figured out. And then Larange takes on Melfort. And boy, if you want to talk about a team who needs a win if they want a playoff chance, the Melfort Mustangs need a win in this one. And Larange doesn't want anything to do with that in a UPL division matchup there, a division rivalry game. So it's going to be a good couple of days across the league, Newsy. 4 games over the next 2 nights. Lots to talk about, and obviously make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels with the SJHL and sjhl.ca. Get it bookmarked on your website, or on your website browser, I should say. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Get your Flow Hockey subscription. Nugsy, final word to you.
The one thing I was supposed to do on Nugs and Notes, totally forgot. Congratulations, the Yorkton Terriers.
Hey!
There you go. They had promised a pizza party on the league for raising the most money for men's health in Movember. Talon Henriksen, the captain of the Terriers, shout out to you for organizing it all, and shout out to the league for paying for it. And there you go, the boys there in Yorkton had some good pizza.
Love a good pizza party.
Yep.
Do you know where they went, or where they got pizza from?
somewhere that makes pizza.
Love that for them. That's a good, usually when that's a good place to go is a place that makes it. Yeah. Thanks, Newsy. One more shout out to our sponsor. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
So nice.
Don Williams checking in. Any other Facebook comments we can roll
cameras,
through
Don.
before we shut it down? I see Robert Koska on Facebook checking in. Afternoon, gentlemen. Just joined. I see the top teams are separating from the rest. Austin Cardell says, how we doing, boys? How's great, Austin. How are you doing? Chelsea Gladue checked in earlier. She said the stars are shining. Go Stars. I know Kelly Lewick was blowing up our YouTube channel.
He loved the 29 number for the goalie for Tritter for Felix Potvin. Felix the
Potvin.
Cat.
Yeah.
Love Felix the Cat as a Leaf fan.
Think we talked about this last year, I think, too, but my brother was also number 29 back in the day. And B1 Hockey Videos. I know he became a fan of ours. Hey, Ryan Lambert checking in. Shout out to Ryan. I gave him a shout out on that Spencer Michnick, or the Finley Klippenstein game-winning goal from that highlight of the week. So shout out to Ryan Lambert for checking in. B1 Hockey Videos. I think he found us because of the Viking Cup.
Yeah, he was all over it.
And he's tuned in now all the time. So shout out to
Appreciate
B1 Hockey Videos. Appreciate you joining us and watching our stuff. But let's shut it down. Thank to our sponsors. Let's do one more time. Cantera Seeds, Canalta Hotel, Capital Automotive Group. Again, mention the SJHL. You get $1,000 off your trade-in bonus. SGEU, SAS Lotteries, UPL, look at that. Chevrolet, of course, our highlight sponsor, Great Western Brewing Company, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Vaterstad. Let's get out of here. Boys in the back, Bryce, Jordan, thank you so much for everything you do each and every show. Appreciate you. They're trying to get out of here too. All right. Until then, we got 4 games coming up over the next couple of days. Enjoy the hockey, everyone. We'll see you on SJHL Insider on Thursday. Bye for now.
Good effort, but still an L.